Okay, you guys, I have to tell you this story. I want you to come back with me for a second to my early 20s living in Brooklyn. Because this isn't just one of those, bad date stories. Oh no. This is the story of a date that started with so much promise and then just detonated. We're talking fake identities, a full on dramatic escape, and a twist at the end that I swear you will not see coming.
I mean, that quote, it just hits the nail on the head, right? It's that feeling, that little flutter of hope that makes you think, okay, maybe this is it. And then, poof, it all goes sideways, leaving you wondering how on earth you ended up there. This date wasn't just wrong, it set a whole new gold standard for disaster.
So picture this. I'm 24, I'm working this soul-crushing dead-end job, basically surviving on cheap pizza and dreams. And like a lot of people, my favorite pastime was, you guessed it, swiping through Tinder. And that's where I found him, or who I thought was him. He seemed perfect. Seriously? His profile was a masterpiece. He had the whole indie musician thing down. The flannel, the guitar, everything. We talked for days, and the banter was just so good. We even agreed that pineapple on pizza is a crime against humanity, which, is crucial. He seemed so charming, so grounded, so normal.
So by the time Friday rolled around, I was totally hooked. I spent way too much time getting ready, trying on 3 different outfits, practicing my casual laugh in the mirror. Walking to that little Italian place, I had that dangerous, sparkly feeling of real possibility. You know the one I'm talking about.
And this is where our little rom-com fantasy begins to fall apart. I got there a few minutes early, got us a nice table, feeling all cool and confident. But as the minutes started to drag on and on, that confidence just sort of melted. I'm just sitting there, sipping my water, pretending to be super busy on my phone. You can just feel the anxiety building, right? Okay, 7:15, he's probably just stuck on the subway. 7:30, okay, this is getting kind of rude. By 7:45, I was convinced I'd been stood up. I was literally about to leave. But then the door opens, and the guy who walked in looked absolutely nothing like his pictures. Okay, just look at this. On the left, we have the guy I was expecting to meet. And on the right, we have the guy who actually showed up. I mean, the flannel shirt was there, I'll give him that. But everything else, his hair was slicked back with this terrifying amount of gel. He had this big, tacky gold chain on. And the charming smile from the photos was more like a predatory grin. Ugh. And it just kept getting worse. He told me this completely unbelievable story about opening for the Killers, asked way too many questions about my ex, and kept talking about his super shady import-export business. Then he launched into this whole rant about how feminism has gone too far, all while chewing with his mouth wide open and getting food absolutely everywhere. So at this point, my brain is just on survival mode. I'm nodding, smiling, and mentally calculating the fastest way to get out of there. And then my phone buzzed. It was a text from a number I didn't recognize. And that little buzz, well, it changed the entire night. I looked down and read that text, and my stomach just dropped to the floor. His roommate borrowed his profile pics. It all clicked into place in this horrifying slow-motion way. This wasn't just a guy who used an old photo. This was a full-on grade A catfish. I was on a date with a complete imposter. I just looked up from my phone, stared him right in the eye, and asked him, "You're not Jake, are you?" You should have seen his face. All the color just drained right out of it. He started sputtering and stammering this pathetic story about how Jake was his stage name. His stage name! I couldn't believe it. That was it. I was done. I didn't say another word. I just stood up, grabbed my purse, and said, "I'm out." And that's when he completely lost it. He jumped up so fast he knocked his water glass over, it shattered all over the floor, and the entire restaurant just stopped and stared. He was actually begging me not to leave. It was a scene. I bolted. I ran out of that restaurant into the pouring rain, and I swear, by some act of God, an empty cab pulled up right then. I dove in and slammed the door shut just as he came bursting out of the restaurant, shouting my name down the street. It felt like I was escaping a movie. But it gets so much weirder. Sitting in the cab, shaking, I saw I had a voicemail from him, and this is what it said. His real name was Tony. He had an operation. He thought I'd be perfect for some kind of modeling. My blood just ran cold. This guy wasn't just a liar. He was genuinely creepy and shady as hell.
of course, the first person I called was my best friend, Sarah. She came over right away, and we just sat on my floor with a bunch of Thai food, going back and forth between crying and laughing hysterically. The whole thing was just so insane, so completely absurd, it barely felt real. Okay, so here's the part of the story that sounds completely made up. I promise you, it's true. 2 weeks later, I'm in a coffee shop, and I literally physically bump into the guy from the Tinder pictures. The real one, Mike. He was absolutely horrified, apologizing over and over, and explained that Tony was some mooch who'd been crashing on his couch. You just can't make this stuff up. Mike asked me out for coffee, to make up for his roommate's insanity. And our date, it was everything the first one wasn't. It was easy and fun and full of terrible puns. There was actual chemistry. That one catastrophic night accidentally led me right to the person I was supposed to meet all along. So what's the moral of this absolutely wild story? First and most importantly, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Those little red flags are usually part of a much bigger, much redder flag. Second, seriously, do a quick video call. It's not weird, it's smart. It can save you from a Tony. And finally, you have to find a way to laugh at the chaos, because a truly awful experience almost always makes for an amazing story later. So that's it. That's my story of how a catfish accidentally led me to a really great guy. It just goes to show you that sometimes you have to get through the absolute worst to find something really good. But I know I can't be the only one with a story like this. So now I want to ask you, what is the most disastrous date you have ever survived?